Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Dr. Ko here again for our live. We are talking about on-demand EHR support made by an extraordinary idea from a physician, and his platform is called JustAskEvie. We spoke to him last year. We're going to talk to him about what is new and what extraordinary things he's doing now. It all comes from the idea that physicians really understand what the issues are, what are the problems, why is there burnout, why are there frustrations, and how do we fix it? If we step up and make those decisions and help, innovate and be leaders in the field, we can make some amazing changes. And I'm so happy to talk to you about this person. My name is Dr. Elsie Ko. I'm the CEO and founder of Lead Physician Leadership Program for physicians and the CMO of American Endovascular and Amputation Prevention. Lead Physician is full of great ideas. If you go to YouTube and listen, just subscribe and listen to the amazing videos and advice from all these leaders in the field. Lead Physician is giving passion, purpose, and potential back to physicians. I'm going to introduce to you Dr. JD Tyler. Hi, thank you so much for being here again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Elsie.
Yeah, I'm going to show a little excerpt from your website. Dr. Tyler, he's a Peds trained physician. He's passionate about healthcare and technology. And being a hospitalist, he has led EMR development at a major EMR vendor and has been the CMIO with EMR implementation. He really deeply understands the challenges that the clinicians and organizations face. And therefore, he came up with his own platform that's really solving a lot of problems and providing just 24-hour support for physicians on EMR after hours. And let's talk about how you're doing that. What has happened since the last time we spoke to you? JD, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell me, since last year, January 2021, we had this podcast. There's been some major upgrades and changes.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that.
Sure. So, about last year, during the pandemic, when we started to kind of pivot of what our services were, we really started just as a supplemental support for go lives and EMR upgrades. And initially, the idea came about because as you mentioned, I was a CMIO at a health system. We did an EMR implementation, and it was very costly for our elbow support to be there, and that was really the most valuable people were the ones helping at the elbow. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way. And so that's where it all started. So we just started just with the mainly the supplemental services side. And then during the pandemic, kind of realized how valuable the platform could be, especially during a time of COVID restrictions and new staff starting to help with surges of cases, whether it be traveling nurses or locum doctors. And so about that time we talked about a year ago, that's when we first started to make it more as a software as a service. And then since then, I've really kind of blossomed in that area as a software as a service to provide a lot of value for health systems, large and small, to be able to optimize their own team to provide easy support for both their, I say providers, but it really is anybody using the EMR, and then their IT support staff. And so how we've kind of perfected that is we have a little matching algorithm that realizes, oh, you're a doctor or perhaps you're a nurse, and we instantly route your request to the appropriate people, whether it be internal during the day or external if they want to use us as supplemental service after hours. We all do that in real time. So think of what you'd have to do today is you call a help desk, you get bounced around, and maybe you eventually get to a voicemail, and then someone calls you back, or you send an email that maybe gets replied to weeks from now. But we kind of took all of that and said, let's just modernize the entire help request experience. And I've really blossomed, as I mentioned, on the software side as a service. And so being able to give the organization administrative access so they can change their coverage hours, they can add their own support, they can look at the logs and see what kind of questions are being asked, so they get their finger on the pulse of what are the frustrations, what are the questions being asked by their users, so they can take that information and improve their EMR build or improve their onboarding. It's something to where previously, and I was guilty of this myself, where I was so focused on making sure all questions get answered. So it's like,
Hmm.
never leave a question unanswered. And then what I've realized is allowing an easy button for a provider or nurse or anyone using the EMR, and then complementing that with an internal IT staff, giving them an easy way to be able to, answer that support request. What we're realizing now is there were a lot of unasked questions prior to implementation of Just Ask Evie, and it's these little questions that people kind of ask that they don't really feel like calling a help desk or logging a ticket or sending an email. But if they could just hit a button and someone calls them right back and it's a little question, they get it solved and it makes their day better, they're a lot happier. And that's really what we're realizing is how that final polish from a user to super user actually happens. So
You
we've
know,
done quite a bit.
I would love to hear before and after of the lives of the physicians you've touched because of your platform. I bet you the frustrations we know a
Yeah.
lot of it comes from the frustrations of technology, and
Yes.
sometimes the EHR being onboarded so quickly during the Obama administration and became an executive order that it was like nobody even had time to make it user friendly. You kind of have taken all of the problems you saw, and you've turned it around, and you've given people the means to be able to get real-time support right away. Talk about how quickly they get the response when they hit that button.
It it will depend on well, I can't control the organization themselves, but they're actually doing a really good job. It's probably less than 30 seconds. And I would say the same thing for our EVs when they answer the support request. It may take maybe a minute or two. It depends on someone waking up and looking at it. But the way it's built, everybody who gets a support request will receive a text message on their smartphone, and they can view the queue from their phone and accept the request from there. So by doing that, it will show them the phone number of the person who needs help. They'll call them back as they're opening their laptop. But I think the most important part is the providers loved being able to kind of have control and be able to hit a button and someone calls them back. So in their mind, that's when their support request starts. And so they're getting their question answered. And sometimes the questions, don't require a screen share. It's just a simple question that they're asking. Maybe they want something clarified. And so just being able to talk to somebody over the phone without having to, be placed on hold or bounced around is a huge value add to them as well.
Right, and not just that, the productivity of the organization, and, not just the
Yeah.
mental wellness of the provider who's, like,
Yeah.
in front of the computer, but they now know these little small things that makes them, like you said, a super user
Yeah.
instead of just a user, and, takes it to the next level, and then provides feedback to the administration for the daytime hours when you're having, for instance, I don't know if you're
Mhm.
allowed to say who you're working with,
Yeah. No,
JD. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, so a large health system. We went live a week or two ago. They've been talking to.
Congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. And we just started with their Epic sites. We're supporting that, but within the first day or two, they were very happy with the volume and wanted to expand over to the Cerner side. So they actually have two large EHRs, one for inpatient, one for ambulatory, that they support, and they have a great internal staff, and we provide a tool for them to be able to provide that support, like I said, in real time. It allows them to not be tethered to a computer. They have kind of free reign, and they're able to answer those questions pretty quickly. And I think they haven't said how happy they are, but they like the fact that they can leave at 4:30 that day, and then those questions automatically are sent to one of our EVs to answer, and that way they get there the following morning and they can see what questions were asked
Yep.
versus looking at a giant ticket log of what they need to
Right.
answer.
I mean, that's amazing. Just within a minute, getting a
Hmm.
response. I could have used that. I mean, I remember on the weekends I mean, even on the weekends, it sounds like you have that support and during the
Hmm.
night. And I would just call one number and then that person didn't answer. So I'd try to find another number for an EMR support because I
Yeah.
can't get my work done on the weekend if I have overflow or
Yep.
if I'm on call. So tell us a little bit about the EVs that you've recruited. How many are there? Who are you recruiting, and how are you getting people engaged in the process?
Sure. So about 2018, middle of 2018, so about 4 years ago, when I first did the pilot at Evergreen Health up in Kirkland, Washington, I was the first EV. I just wanted to see if this idea worked, and it worked really well there. And I thought to myself, okay, maybe we got something here.
I need to find other people to answer questions. I can't answer every question. And so that's when I started to kind of just do this grunt work, like reaching out on LinkedIn, looking for CMIOs and physicians and locum doctors who I know that probably, might have experience, and just reaching out to them and say, hey, I'm starting this company. We were looking for people who are kind of tech savvy and super users. It can help, your fellow physician, or and it was just physician at the time and expanded to nursing, but help your fellow, clinician answer these questions that they may have. And people surprisingly were like, I do this at my own health system. I don't get paid for it, but I enjoy doing it. So yeah, count me in. I'll do that from my couch. That sounds great, and that's where it started. And so I say we because it was myself and some other people recruiting and just building that network. And over the last 4 years, it's been over about 400 people. And so
That's incredible.
mainly LinkedIn, but sometimes on some social media like with Instagram. Also, there's one called Fishbowl, and I'll post things on Fishbowl sometimes, and on our website, you can actually go to JustAskEvie.com. And if you want to become an Evie, there's a form to fill out. And and a lot of people check the box for Fishbowl that they hear about us. So that's pretty interesting. That, and actually word of mouth. Like I'll reach out to somebody and they'll say, I know the perfect person. I'm not the person that you need, but I know
Mhm.
the guy I asked. I'll let them know, and so we'll do word of
Right.
mouth as well. So
So
it's
you basically vet these people out, and you
mhm.
make sure that they've had some kind of certification in the EMR system,
Yeah,
right?
so a lot of the Epic users have gone through Epic certification up in Verona. A lot of the there's kind of a complementary thing for Cerner, but for the other EMRs, it's just by talking to them and asking, really getting to know them, if it's a good fit for them. If usually there's somebody who's even interested, they've already, they're the person helping with go lives and upgrades of their own health system, so it's usually not an issue. And I will say, for every question that they answer, they provide they provide the question and the answer back to the health system, so we're completely transparent, and the health system can look at that and say, this person doesn't know what they're talking about, like they answered it completely wrong. And
Mhm.
we give that, and we circle back to the provider and make sure that the quality that they're providing that
So there's
service
always a feedback
is good.
mechanism, so you're making
Absolutely.
sure that
Yep.
you're providing the right. That's excellent, awesome.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I mean,
Sure.
what if so who is this really intended for? Like, who's your perfect customer? Who are the ones that should be reaching out to you? I mean, is it all the above, or
It's
is it
everybody, right? I tell you what, if you have a problem with the EMR, then I would love to know what you're doing and just take that recipe and share it with everybody else. But everybody has their frustrations with the EMR as an end user. And as you mentioned, the training, I remember going through it several times as well. And you're basically, all I remember is getting my login and setting a password. Kind of knowing the basics, and you're really just kind of keeping your head above water until after a while you finally learn and you start to swim. We look at that as like, we want you to swim a lot faster.
Mhm,
And so the ideal customer or client, it is really anybody who has an EMR, honestly.
mhm.
I was
Any type of EMR, or
Mhm.
only the major ones, or which ones?
The major ones we can help provide that supplemental support for. For the niche ones, we can find those who are interested in learning that, and they basically they go through the training that they would normally go through if they were a provider at that health system, and they become a
Okay,
super user, and they can provide that help. But
right.
I will say that the typical picture of the client, really, if it's a smaller health system, like maybe a critical access hospital, where they struggle, I think, is mainly on resources. They have that one person who probably wears four or five hats, and one of those hats is providing IT support for all the
Right,
providers. And then you look at a system like UPMC, they have a very capable and very it's a great internal Epic support team. We're giving them a tool to make them more efficient, and then as they need us, whether it be after hours or for an upgrade, then they'll use our supplemental services with the EVs. But that smaller critical access hospital, they may say, the tool's helpful for like a little bit, but there are times even during the day I can't answer questions, so I need someone else to help. So what we do is we overlap the coverage and make our EVs help out during the day, and so everybody can get their question answered. So that
yeah.
and then of course there's somewhere in the middle where it's a health system that maybe that it's a regional health system. they have some people who can help normally, but they need a little bit of help during go lives, upgrades. Maybe in July when it's a smaller academic center, and they have all their interns start. Then maybe they want to, use the tool themselves and have those interns learn the EMR a lot faster.
Yep, JD, I can see this scaling very quickly once people hear about it more and you already have a major institution sign up. How are you going to scale this to be able to deliver when the demand starts coming through the door?
Well, the software itself is built to scale, and what's nice about it is, especially for UPMC, and we can do this for anybody. We built a custom subdomain for them, and
Okay.
it uses their logos, their fonts, their colors, and so any provider within that Epic system, when they click on that, it looks like UPMC to them.
That's
It's
so good
very,
to know.
yeah, it's very good.
Yep.
It looks that same look and feel, and so it's built to scale in that sense. We also do a single sign-on integration through Saml, which is, as a physician, I had to learn all that stuff. I didn't write any of that code by any means, but I wanted to learn it, what it meant and how to implement it. So, for example, a provider can just tap their badge, or once they're inside their system, they don't have to push any kind of login or credentials. That's in that directory is managed by the organization. So we're able to automate a lot of that. So for a large health system that has an active directory, what they call it, they can basically, if you leave your job or you move somewhere else, they can remove you from the system, and it's just that easy. And if you need to add a new user, they just log in for the first time, their account's created automatically. So on the
Mhm.
software side, I purposely wanted to build it. It is web-based, so nothing is installed locally at the health system.
Mhm.
It's all in a secured AWS cloud. We use, we tie into the HIPAA compliant screen sharing software that the organization already uses, and so that's built to scale itself. And then for the supplemental service side, just continue to actively recruit people, and have kind of a tell your friends model. It's something to where it's pretty easy to scale for those for the on the
Mhm.
supplement side, because they're much more efficient. If you think about traditional EMR support, how cumbersome that is when you're trying to, walk around and find somebody who needs help, or even if you're answering a phone and you're trying to walk to be there physically at their side. We do it virtually. So the EVs and the internal support team, they can answer quite a lot more questions throughout the day than if they were actually at someone's elbow. And I by no means think that at the elbow support will be completely replaced. I think there's always going to be a need for that. But I think we're at the point now, I think what the pandemic proved was remote work is possible,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that's what we're providing. We're just providing a higher quality of support because it is a peer-to-peer.
Mhm.
It's real time, and it's someone who's a super user of that EMR. So kind of
Mhm.
checks all those boxes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for this. I just want to reiterate, you told me this before that you came up with this idea not knowing how to develop the software. It's just a point, as you as a physician understanding the problem
Yeah,
that's out there, the frustrations, and having gone through it yourself as a clinician, and then being able to say, you know what, I have an idea. I have an idea of what maybe we can do, and taking that and finding the people to be on your team to create something, and you might not necessarily know, and you don't have to know how to create that software. You find that person and then you
yeah,
developed it. And that's the beauty of this.
yeah. That was the key. I by no means tried to take any kind of courses to learn how to code. I was like, no. But I had a lot of experience with, working with engineers and architects with my previous roles, and then leverage those experiences to be able to kind of communicate and talk to them and understand. And I had a little understanding of, what was capable of certain software, and I really thought long and hard about, like, what do I want to do, and from my experiences as a CMIO at a health system, just knowing, how difficult it is to kind of roll out, what would make things easier. And that's what I truly focus on, was a frictionless experience from both sides, and even for the implementation team. And so we even in our I had the engineer create in our code the ability to do that SAML integration, so that the next health system, they say we want to do a single sign-on, I say no problem, we can take it from here. So it can scale very, very quickly. And so a lot of the time that is spent during our implementation meetings isn't much for anything for Just Ask Evie to do. It's a lot of internal decisions they need to make, like where do we put the icon? What do we call the icon? How do we roll it out? And for UPMC, it was a what I would say a soft go live, which is probably why they were so excited, because it had a lot of usage in the first 2 days. To where they're like, we haven't done really any advertising of this, but people, it's kind of like spreading where people understand I can hit a button and this little tiny question can be answered anytime I need it. And that's when it kind of goes down to those how many questions go unasked versus how many questions go unanswered. And
Right.
that's really what I'm realizing now, that is pretty exciting. And it's not just providers. I mean, nurses have this issue, front desk, rev cycle, billers, PTOT, everybody has this. And the way the software as a service works, we license it to the system to use it as much or as little as they want. And so
Okay.
and because of our algorithm, we can build the roles for them, and they can expand it to whoever they want.
Right.
And so that's the value in that software as a service for them.
JD, I could talk to you all day. I mean, you're inspiring. Thank you so much for building this. I
Sure.
think I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that more and more people use this. I want to put up again the website justaskevi.com, and I have your email, JD,
Yep.
justaskevi.com. So if you're interested in using his platform, please reach out to him. Thank you, everybody, again for watching. My name is Dr. Elsie Coe. If you have a topic on physician leadership, please reach out to me at info@drelsiecoe.com. And if you're interested in doing a leadership program, we are going to start at the end of the summer, and it's all about this. It's all about not just having an idea and not understanding how to take it, but having that growth mindset and have the accountability and the partner to go through it. I love topics like this, JD. Thank you so much.
Oh,
What are
wow.
any last words of wisdom from you that we can take away?
Last words of wisdom. It doesn't have to be that hard. I'll say that. I know that a lot of organizations, they lose sleep, and a lot of physicians lose sleep on having to use the EMR, and it's not going anywhere. And I love data. I love big data. It's going to change the world, but it's going to be junk in, junk out. And so the key to that success is going to be, happy EMR users. And so that part does not need to be difficult. Let me help. I'll put it that
Thank
way.
you. Thank
Yep.
you so much, everybody. Thank you. Until next Sunday.